All right, welcome back, everyone. You have made it back to another experience, and this one is exciting because I'm starting something new. But before we get into all of that, again, I just want to thank everybody. Make sure you are tuning into kheartfelt.com, listening, and also reading the blogs. I put a lot of effort into them blogs, y'all. So make sure y'all go into the website and get that info. All right. But before we get into anything, this really special episode I'm really excited about. You know what we have to do? We have to give it up to God. Like I always say, I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for God. So I'm always gonna say a little prayer. If this is not your thing, that is completely fine. I ask that you do not click turn us off, because you just never know. I want you to keep your heart and your mind open. I believe that we can coexist, and I want you to just keep your heart and mind open. You never know where your message can come from. All right. So I'm gonna say a little prayer, and then we're gonna jump in. All right. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for your grace, your mercy. I want to thank you for your provisions that you provide to us every single day. I want to thank you for the guests that I have today, for you have truly blessed me with them, and I do not take that for granted. Father God, I thank you. I ask that they continue to be protected, as well as their families. I ask that everyone listening is protected, and that they can have an intimate, beautiful, intimate relationship with you, Father, that you also desire. Father, I also ask that you have your way here. All right. I can't do this without you. Don't want to do this without you. So Holy Spirit, have your way. Whatever I may have planned, this is your show. So you take control and I will follow your lead. Okay. Again, Father God, I thank you for all that you do. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And in Jesus' name we say amen.
Amen.
Amen. So for as long as I can remember, I actually have always wanted to gather my friends together and do a show. Back in 2015, I actually recorded one with Wendy Preston. Shout out to Wendy. He's a great videographer as well as a great photographer, and just all around really great creative. Very simple. I think his Instagram is like nostalgic one or something. I'm gonna put him on the blog on the website. So make sure you go to the website so y'all can get that information. It was like something called like R&R The Real. I made my sister like do a whole logo for me and everything. It didn't go farther than that, but that's fine because we're here today. So this is just the understanding. This concept is different. This episode is different. This is the beginning of a series or a series in a segment and whatever that will happen once a month called Group Chat Shenanigans. Okay. We are just recording our regular conversations that we have, and hope that you will be blessed, enlightened, or at least it will bring you joy. Because one thing I do know is that every conversation with every friend that I've had, we be dropping some gems. All right. We be dropping some gems. So I'm so excited that on this first installment, I have Jovona Kennedy. Jovona is an educational consultant. Yes. Hey, girl. She's a child behavior specialist. She's a creative. And if you need anything done with your debt and your financial stability, she is your girl. She also has a business, and I'll let her talk about that later on. All right. Alongside her, we have Angela Shoulders. I'm so excited. Angela is a model. She's an actress. She's a singer, songwriter, and screenwriter. Don't get it twisted. She can do it all. All right. So please, and she has some things that I'm going to let her talk about later on in the show as well. But welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us. What an intro. I'm like, you make me sound important.
You are important. All my friends are dope. I don't understand.
You're equally dope. So thank you for having us.
Yes.
So as we always
Appreciate you 100%.
We're just gonna check in. How y'all doing? How's your day been? You know, like how was today like?
Today was a blessing. I went to my chirotherapy. My neck was very, very stiff, and I literally look forward to these. It's like beyond the physical, it's like you really get, well, if you allow it when you're in any therapy, if you allow yourself to release, you get it on so many other levels. And when they're trying to manipulate, obviously, my neck, I got to relax. So that was great. My travel was great. I was safe. So that's like number one for me with traveling public transportation. And just, you know me, I'm chilling with this COVID and the mandate. So I'm home just like you, Key.
It'd be so funny. People be asking me like, so when are you free? I'm like, it's weird. I'm busy and also free because, I don't got that job but I got a job. You know what I mean? Like, it's just different.
Right.
I'm
Absolutely.
like Tommy, but I'm not like Tommy. So,
I'm not Tommy.
I'm not Tommy. I really be busy. Like, I have a whole schedule. I can show y'all for real. It's crazy. How about you, Angela? How you doing?
My day was chill. I just ran some errands, came home. It was a beautiful day outside. It was cold, but beautiful nonetheless. I'm back in DC, so just
You
chilling
left
out.
us.
For now, I'll be back. I always come back.
Actually, this topic, or not this topic, but this segment, I give thanks to y'all. Like, when we went out the other day, it was just such a blessing to be with y'all, that it sparked. I was like, oh yeah, this would be a great segment. Like, I know, Joe, you always say, like, me and Tasha have these things recorded or whatever, and it's the same thing. Like, with my friends, I've always wanted a show. So I'm really excited you guys sparked that in me. I don't know if y'all noticed, but in the car, I started writing the idea down, for sure.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
No, that's not true.
I do want to.
That's why you need to be around certain people.
Yes, for sure. This is why you got to really be careful about who is in your circle. I think especially when you're at a space and time when you want to move, you know what I mean? When you are finally diving into things that is purpose driven, things that you are ordained to do, you got to be very careful who you around, because they can either spark the right idea or the wrong idea.
They can help or hurt.
Yep. Help or hurt. I know I asked you guys how you were doing, but I do this thing ever since I learned. I think it was like I don't know what episode, but this thing where, like, I know you guys are strong friends, right? They're the ones who hold it down for everybody, whether it's in your family, whether it's in your friend circle. And I remember when asked, like, how you doing, I had read something like, you should always follow up with tell me some, gain a little bit more, right? So I think I always do this now with guests. I always ask how they doing, whether it's self-care or anything like that. But just, what is the last thing that made you smile, that just made your heart smile and made you feel good?
Watching the sun come up. I find the positive and the negatives. I don't sleep very well. I tend to wake up in the middle of the night, usually around 4-ish, and then I'm up until, sometimes I'll crash out at like 7 or 8. Sometimes I'm up for the whole day. So I like to sometimes just so still and quiet in that moment, and then the sun starts rising, and I love sunrise and sunset. So that was beautiful today.
Oh wow, I like that.
I love that.
Right?
Oh, that's
Just
beautiful.
the simple things sometimes we don't think to appreciate. So you just brought that back, Angela.
I appreciate that. I even thought of like just the last sentence that I've seen. And so I have to kind of get back to that. Even with the weather can be tricky. People are like, oh, I just stay in the house, but you can still like sit at your window.
Peek through your blinds a little bit, you know what I mean?
Right. That's all you gotta do.
For me, honestly, speaking to one of my older siblings, just as recently, like getting back together, the family unit has been important to me, which it really was important to me. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm like, all right, whatever, Joe, you just do your own thing. But actually speaking to my sister today, and this has been, I guess, a few days in a row, or a few days within this last few days together, like once in a week. So that made me feel really good. It feels like we're going somewhere with it. Like it's not just, and it's not like fake. It feels very natural. Nobody's forcing it. My mom's not calling me to tell me, hey, go talk to your sister. So it feels great.
What we pray for, right? I think for me, something today made me happy. I had a great conversation with someone, and it solidified some things that I have been praying for. So it just felt really good to just know, like, I know God is listening, you know what I mean? I know my prayers are answered, but just to like hear it and see it is just something different. So that conversation was really great. And it made me, I'm a repeater. Like, I repeat stories, I repeat things. And this man, I was on the phone with him, sweaty, he repeated the same thing like over and over. But I literally sat on this phone and I was like, you know what? I'm just this is good. Like I appreciate this. I have patience for this. I'm understanding. Like it just felt good. Like no matter how long, like we was on the phone and he was saying the same thing in a different way. I was like, I love it. I appreciate it. So that's how it was for me. So we are here, and the topic that I want to talk about, and please let it be known, I was telling Joe before we got on that this, like when we're together, this is our show, right? um Especially within this, like with the group chat, because that's how it is. Anybody can throw something in the group chat. We may have people jump in who may just chime in and well I'll see it because we're on Zoom, but they may come in, and that's kind of how it be, because it's just like a group chat, especially with us. Well, it'd be like 3 people who really responded, and then randomly the other people want to respond that haven't been responding.
Yeah.
But um so any topics, obviously we're just gonna flow. But one topic that has really been plaguing my mind is this whole, I want to have a baby, and it doesn't matter like what's going on, like I want to have a baby, right? So I seen a episode of Damani, which is T.I.'s son, on Lip Service. I usually don't finish all of Lip Service's like episodes, because sometimes it does get like really extra and raunchy, and I feel like it's reaching, in my personal opinion. And sometimes like, but I feel like I always get what I need and then I'm out. Like it's never like I, you know what I mean? So I was interested because Damani's I like his music. I love how poised he is. And they asked him about marriage, because they always ask Angela Yee always talks about relationships and stuff like that. And they asked him about women, they asked him about marriage, and he was just like, nah, I'm good. Like I've seen too much. I'm not with that. And then they asked about kids, and he was like, yeah, man, I want some kids. I want a family. He was, the excitement and certainty he felt or shown was evident versus the whole I don't want marriage thing, right? And then when we went to, I saw Saweetie on a red carpet. I think she was talking to somebody, powerhouse, I think, like that. And I think it was on the Shade Room. And the lady asked her, what's next? And she was like, my album, and I want a baby. I want a baby, y'all. Like I really want a baby. Like, my age, I'm getting old, but I think she's 28. And she was like, I want a baby. And the girl was like, hold up, I don't know who you dating. She was like, I'm not dating anybody. And the girl was like, all right, well, how about you wait till you get somebody and then we talk about that, that baby thing. And she was like, no, I want a baby. Like, I really want a baby. I want to pop them out and then get back snatched, right? And I was like, dag, like we really, there is this narrative, this strong narrative, I think, of like not connecting the family, the marriage, and the child together. And I'm not even going to sit here and act like, Saweetie's 28 years old. And I remember being in the phase when I was 28, 20, like in that time where I was thinking I could, use it. I could have a child too. I would never forget my friend, a close friend of mine's. She had a baby and she was like, something changed in me. I'm more motivated. And I've always had issues sometimes, I felt like, with motivation. I always say, like, if it wasn't for Christ, I don't think I would be as motivated as I am right now. I have clarity, I have understanding. I'm able to, tune into myself a lot more too. And I thought for a second, I'm talking about I want to be a lawyer. I'm talking about I want to do these things. Maybe if I had a kid, I would be motivated too. All the wrong, you know what I mean? So I'm not judging, sweetie. I think I just want us, I think it's time for us to kind of evolve from that, because if we don't have a strong household, in my opinion, then is the baby, like, what are we doing for the child? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just think it's something that needs to be talked about, because I'm seeing a lot of people more comfortable with just having a baby and okay. And this is something that's been plaguing our, especially Black families, for years. I mean, for generations. So, which I think.
I mean, I don't. Sorry,
Ange.
I was gonna say I don't know Saweetie's upbringing or what her family structure is like, but most people I know grow up in single parent households. So if something is the norm for you, you're going to think that that's normal and that's it works. You turned out okay.
Yeah.
I saw my mom or my dad do it. I could do it too. So if you don't grow
I
up
want to
in
piggyback on that.
if you don't grow up in a two family household, you're not going to think that that's required.
Yeah.
That's very true. I want to piggyback on that though. Like, even though many of us did grow up in a single family household, I would like to think that, for example, my mom, like, she wanted to remain with my dad, or even before having me, because because she had a rough relationship prior. But she did want to stay in it. So I don't think it was even like a plan thing, but I feel like our generation lately, it's like a plan thing. Like, yeah, we just gonna not really be together, but we just definitely gonna have a kid. The mindset has changed for it to still be the same situation. And I feel as though, yes, that's your personal choice. But at the end of the day, the kid is always affected. Like, we end up being affected, whether it was a choice to be a single parent or not, like, that child still ends up being affected in some way. And it still perpetuates some type of cycle or some type of trauma, because whether it was through a clinic or you guys actually decided to be together, I mean, just for that moment, that child's still gonna wonder, I got another part to me. And I think that's kind of unfair, especially if you can control it.
Yeah. I grew up with both of my parents in the house, which I would say I know when I was growing up, it was an anomaly. You know, people are always like, oh, you got both your parents, you must da 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 da. But even with it all, I think there's a readiness you have to have for sure with you know, like having kids too. And like I was watching this documentary, it was like a quick snippet of it, and it was talking about the structure of like Black families and how this same thing you say, Angela, like like what they see, they think it's okay, and then they duplicate. So it's a consistent, you know, well, my mother did it, so I should be fine, even though we negate the struggle part of it that the parent has, you know, has gone through. And I used to always tell people too, like, even though you have two parents in the home, there still can be things that you struggle with. However, I do believe that um there is something with that. There is something of having both there. Again, it's not always the best, because some people can still be absent, very absent, and there you can see them every day, but they're not giving you the fruits of what it is to be a father, what it is to be a mother. Yeah. So but I do believe that I'm praying for a switch and a change, because I do think there needs to be a change in people who decide to just want to have kids. Because I work with kids, like we, you know, like me, we work with kids, right? And we see the struggles that they're going through. We see what they are perpetuating. And I don't know, I really feel like we can shift generational curses and break things. And I think I'm just kind of ready for that. But it's kind of like, all right, so who or when we're how, what do we do? You know what I mean? I may come from a spiritual background in this aspect where everybody, I even got my family, like some of my family haven't even listened to my podcast. And if you finally do, and you hear this, I'm putting you on blast for sure. Because they was like, oh, I thought it was about God. And I was like, okay, but that doesn't mean
Right.
like that doesn't, like, there's other topics. Like, I can't believe you just was like, you know, I thought it was space and you know, all about, like, yeah, I'm putting them all on blast. Like, I don't expect my parents to listen to it, honestly, but my sister gonna be on the show one day, and I'm putting her on blast. Yeah, she did not listen because she thought it was like, you know, I didn't know. And I think that's the stigma, I think, even with my show, period, that I want to break. I want people to stop thinking that because you walk with God, that you are extra righteous or you're better than, I'm not better than, I'm like
But that's your only conversation. Like,
Yeah.
that's not our only conversation. Like, honestly, it comes from a heart of where we used to be, where a lot of people still are. And so it's really a relationship thing, just like we have a relationship with God, is really relating to other people of like my transformation and how hot mess I am. I mean, heck, yeah, you could be along with it too. It's not just to make you feel like any lowly. But to your point where you're saying how sometimes we feel like the parent exuded such a struggle, it's just like we kind of put that back on the child. Like you said, we work with kids in different forms. These children really come out really showing so many different signs of lack of care, lack of thoughtfulness or loving or just some type of attention. And it's just not, it's not changing for the better. And the choices that I guess our generation seems to be leaning towards, whether by choice or not, having these kids in that manner is not going to help anything. And I'm not just gonna honestly lean on the Black community. Like, there are other cultures where, especially the women, like, she's just like, all right, I'm 36, I'm 38, I'm 40, like, I'm going to a clinic, I'm going to have a child. Like, they don't even pursue a relationship. Like, so it's happening just across the board, and I don't think it's healthy.
I think you hit on something too. It's rooted in when you say that there's a lack of children are seeking at the, the age, they're seeking this love, they're seeking the attention, right? And we know that if it's not addressed at a young age, it continues on with you. And regardless of how put together one may look, even when you get to that age, there's still a level of you seeking affection, you seeking love, right? And we may not look inward or to other sources, but thinking like, if I had a child, that child is going to love me and I'm going to love that child. Therefore, I'm good. And the reality is that you're going to be tight when your child don't love you. When your child don't love you. And then that brings frustration, that brings animosity and resentment. And then you have this pull, and you know what I mean? This pull in the relationship and so forth. And I think it's so many levels. I think there's importance that we need to put on sex.
I think it's also motives.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say that, Joe.
Right.
It's like you're taking a gamble either way, but I think a lot of people need to assess why they want to have kids. I grew up in a two-parent household, and my brother, who I'm not gonna name any names, he would say things because he was kind of troubled, always getting into something. But one time we kind of had a talk, and he's like, I know our parents are amazing. We've had the greatest upbringing. I never wanted for anything. I never needed anything. I don't know why I chose to go down the path I went down. So it's very much a gamble either way. You can have the perfect parents and still turn out, go and run the streets and do the wrong thing. You can have a single parent household and be the Nobel Peace Prize winner, So you're taking a gamble. I think the problem comes in when people are doing it for the wrong reasons. And I'm like, I don't really know what the right reason. I was just having this conversation earlier. What is the pros of having children? It's like, if you're doing it to keep a man, don't do that. No. A lot of women have kids to kind of fill that emotional void and end up having sons that they end up taking on as almost a romantic partner, which is very sick, honestly. And it's just like, or for me, I'm on the fence about whether I want kids or not. And I'm always told, oh, you're going to be old and alone. And I'm like, having kids to take care of me when I'm old is not a good enough reason for me to bring life into this world. So it's a risk either way. There's a lot of risks when it comes to children. I feel like if you're not willing to do your inner work and work on yourself and be able to guide another human being life, like, don't do it.
Amen.
Well, to piggyback on what you had a key point, Ange, where you're saying how, like, if you have a child that's like to fill a void of like your emotions or your lack of love, or if you have a man child that you're trying to, it becomes kind of a borderline, go between too much, but it really doubles back to the father in the household, which means we need the family structure. Like, when you have that balance of both parents, your child also gets to know both sides of them, because sometimes you look at your child and be like, who the heck are you? Like, why are you doing these things? And you do that also when, as you get older, you start to say, like, why are these habits? Why do I have them? Or why am I more apt to do this and not apt to do that? And when you look back, you have you have two visual models to figure that out. And when you're lacking one, that really kind of causes you to now, I would say, have to have more time to figure out or develop yourself compared to someone who may have had two parents. And I'm not saying that obviously there are issues with having still having both of your parents down the line, but for the most part, if there is a strong relationship with all involved, the parents, the child, the communication, I think that then you come out stronger. But even with the two parent household, for the most part, if you're not communicating or your guys are not building or you're not sewing into each other both ways, then you're still going to have the same struggle as if you did have a single parent household. But like you said, you can have a single parent household and have an open space father's child compared to the other. So it's really, I think, checking out motive as well as just making sure that you check yourself.
Yeah.
Check yourself and normalize therapy.
Because we have these traumas.
Sorry, Joe.
No,
so many,
please,
so many men are just like emotionally detached, and I've seen married men in their household refusing to hug their children or their sons, saying that, oh, that's gay, or I can't do that, or I'm only going to be nice to my daughters, and that's creating a toxic chain of emotional disconnect in our men. So it's like, you can be married, and I feel like taking accountability in who we're choosing to father our children, checking ourselves and our motives, like you said. Everybody needs to go to therapy, straight up. Just at the end of the day, everybody needs to go to therapy. I think therapy should be a prerequisite to having children, honestly, because it's like so many toxic traits and characteristics and behaviors are just being passed on to children. Children are being verbally, emotionally, physically abused. They didn't ask to be here. It's just, I'm like, if I know I don't got my mental in check and I can 100% treat this kid as something that I wanted and I chose to bring here and I'm going to honor, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. I think therapy needs to be a prerequisite to life. I think like, it should be a part of our insurance packet. That should be free.
It's expensive.
It is. And I think that we should all be doing it. I've been preaching, and even I had issues, I think, at one point with even trying to get into therapy as a therapist, because I felt like I got it, I know, but at some point you can't keep trying to do therapy on yourself and others, and constantly you have to have someone else step in. And I'm gonna be honest, when I had therapy for the time that I did, I do plan to try to go back or whatever. With the time that I did have it, I felt like a real adult. I felt like I was really, really adulting. It wasn't like the bills stuff. It was like, I would have conversations and I genuinely would be like, yeah, my therapist said I need to do that. And I just felt like, yes, I am like, I am accomplishing, because I think the biggest accomplishment that you can make is treating yourself and becoming whole, right? Because when you do that, then your motives, you have a different outlook. So your motives will, God willing, will be different. I used to, I know the narratives of people, like when they have, oh yeah, I want my kid, I can't wait because she's gonna be a ballerina or she gonna do X, Y, and Z. And I remember these notions when you're younger, and as I got older, and I definitely would say like, I started to strip those things, and I understood that I am not here to put my own agenda on the child. I'm a vessel to bring the child into this world, to just literally build them up to become whatever they are intended to be. So no, it's not for me to dangle this in front of them and say, I'm supposed to dangle in front of them discipline, love and security. And for me, definitely God's word, you know what I mean? Like, cause I need that I don't want that to be a struggle for I really don't down the line. Like, if they have to go through all the stuff, I don't want them to go through the things that I went through. Like, I really don't. I hate when parents be like, you don't know the half, you out here, I've been through. Yeah, you've been through it, and you should, like, listen, you've been through it. That doesn't mean I need to go through it. And I would never want my kids to go through anything that I went through. I don't want to shield them from experiences, but I want to make sure that they have security, love, and everything that they need to be whatever it is that they're supposed to be in this life. I want kids, but I want kids only if it's intended. Like I would love to get married, and if I have kids, that's great. That means that it is a blessing, and there's a plan for them, and I can just help them become who they're supposed to be. That's the goal. But I think what you all mentioned, what is very important there. You have to check your motives. You have to check yourself, which I think will help with your motive. And I do think that there is an importance of how we raise a child, because regardless if you're trying to do it single home, Joe, you're right. The child is going to want to know more about them. Listen, I live with my mom and my dad, and I still be questioning, like trying to figure out more things that I get from my dad. Like, it's really like for the last couple of years, it's really been messing with me, because I know what I get from my mom. I look like her, I sound like her, have a heart, you know what I mean? Like, everybody tells me, but I'm like, all right, dad, like, I'm just starting to learn, like, he's a nature person too. He wants to travel, you know what I mean? Like, he's this, I want to be in nature, I want to travel, I want to do certain things. I'm noticing that my intellect is a lot from him too, like how I think about things. Like, but I was crying and yearning for, like, what is it that I get from you though? Like, because he's so quiet. He's so quiet and sheltered.
And I think that is so key, because I mean, thankfully, like, look, you had the access to that.
Yeah.
Like, even though my mom and my dad didn't live together, like, I still had access to my dad. And a lot of people, especially in our community, they don't even have access, like, either by like the parent just shushed the other parent away, that parent just didn't want to be there. And, for those who like lost the parent, that's different. But like, when you at least have that access to dig into what you are, who you may be, that also helps with your purpose. Like, if you're noticing, like, oh, I get my voice from my mom, and then you end up like doing a podcast, like, you learn things that actually come natural for you. And when people are lacking like this access or ability to be able to tap into their mom or their dad, they're slowing down their ability to find out what's like really in them, for them to even just like go forth in life and to pursue like whatever might be their dreams or goals or passions.
That's tough. So I'm actually adopted. So I met my biological mother maybe 6-7 years ago. And I don't know who my biological father is. And I never like felt like I lacked anything. My parents were amazing. I loved my parents. It was just wondering, like you said, where do I come from? Who do I look like? I probably will never know who my biological father is. So in that sense, I'll never be whole in that sense. But my father that raised me, that's my best friend. Yeah. He's amazing. So things like that, it's tough, because I feel like I represent I don't represent, but I am one of hundreds of thousands of people out there who don't have access to where their biological roots, So I think it's hard. This conversation is hard because there's no right or wrong way to raise a child. I mean, there's wrong things obviously that you can do, but I feel like if you're going to have a child, regardless of the circumstances, do the best that you can. Do right by that child, because at the end of the day, by some people's opinion, it's like I should have never been brought into the home that I was brought into, because I wasn't, I'm here. Children are born every day. At the end of the day, if that kid is here, I would hope that people aren't intentionally doing things to put kids in harm's way, or I hope that I wasn't like a planned thing that just happened to go, you know what, I want this kid and I'm not going to have it. Things happen. At the end of the day, once that kid shows up, do right by them. I was put in foster care. That was the best thing that could have ever happened for me. My biological mother did not have the resources or the tools to be an effective parent for me. She did not. So I don't have any resentment in that sense. I actually had a chance to go visit some biological family, and kind of see like a parallel of what my life could have been like. Yeah. And it's like, she was honest, like, I couldn't have done anything for you. And I'm grateful for my mom. My mom passed away last year, but there was no difference. There was no difference in whether she birthed me or not. And yeah, the human part of me always wondered, like, oh, who do I look like? Where do I get like my creativeness from? But that didn't matter. It didn't. Ultimately, I was fed, I was clothed, I never wanted for anything. I was supported, I was loved. So I think at the end of the day, it's hard. At the end, like the sweetie thing,
is.
everybody's not going to get married. There's not the ratio of men to women are off. Everybody's not going to
Yeah.
have that. Everybody's not going to have that fairy tale love story. And a friend of mine, her mom told me, if you have kids, make sure you do it because you want that kid, not because of any other motive, not because you want to keep a man, not because he wants the baby. Because at the end of the day, as women, one, we take on the brunt of the work anyway. We're the ones doing most of the work. When a mother is actually involved in the kid's life, we have to take on majority of the work. And at the end of the day, people pass away, people get divorced. Men can sometimes be absent. Men work jobs that they're not able to be there. At the end of the day, it's like if you decide to have that baby, make sure that you're in a position to do right by them. I think that ultimately that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, it is hard.
I
And
agree.
like even you said, like when you said like the fairy tale, I do think that it's sad that having a 2-family home and 2 people who kind of love each other, and like I it does hurt sometimes that is like a fairy tale, because it seems like there's no point in trying to attain that because it's like it's too
It's
far.
attainable. It's attainable. My parents were married 36 years until my mother passed away. Like legit, it exists. I've seen it. I'm just saying it's not going to happen for everyone. If that's what you truly desire, don't give up on that. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
out there for you.
I think that's the thing. I think there's a level in which I don't want people. I think when we talk about different goals and dreams, like everybody will say, you just have to believe, you have to have faith, you see it, you believe it, right? But sometimes when it's those like financial or goals of in regards to, and this is not to negate a lot of what you said, is like really important in the aspect of like this conversation. There is no, it's hard to kind of place a right and a wrong, right? I think there's a highlight though, like sometimes when it comes to like, oh, I have this dream and I want to get this car, I want to get this, these things become like, oh yeah, I can do that. But when it does come to the relationship, it does seem so much more like, I ain't even gonna try to like deal with that really. If it happens, it happens. It is what it is. I'm gonna do what I have to do. And it is because we've had this, the foundation is so much on the level of we've survived. And I think if people get into a space where they want to strive instead of survive, there does need to be a different outlook on the intimacy of a relationship versus just as much as it is like I gotta set my mind to my dreams and my goals and like, you know what I mean? I do think it really is obtainable. I think it's just how culture has things set, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead.
There's like I just think there's a stigma out there, and it just like you said, we're so amped to like have all this whole list of these vision boards of where we going on vacation, blah blah blah. And as soon as somebody mentioned marriage, people will be like, it's like a heart comes to an screeching halt, and it's just like, I don't know, I didn't think about that. And that's the thing, because you don't think about it or put any type of thought towards it or good enough time towards it, it's like that's where it will be for you. It will be a is what it is situation. And that goes for like even some of your relationships, like even in dating. It's just like if you're not really putting that much thought into it or time and effort and energy because that is something what you want, or on both sides, like you're going to get like meal, like just plop on your plate. Like don't expect something amazing if you're just not really going to put the energy into it. And I really feel like in our culture has been like the stepchild, like, oh, don't talk about that, or this bad connotation that really puts us in the situation we're in.
What you was gonna say,
I feel like people settle with relationships. It's like you won't take the job that's trying to shortchange you and not give you what you're paid at, what you're asking for pay. But with relationships, it's like, oh, this person doesn't check off all my boxes. They check off one, I'm gonna take it because I might end up alone. No, what you want is out there, but you have to be willing to hold out for it. You have to be willing to be disciplined enough to wait for it. You have to be willing to check yourself and say, what does that look like? Some of us have this idea of what our perfect partner looks like in our mind, and your type may not be the one that's right for you.
Yep.
You may be holding yourself back from the marriage and the kids.
Attention.
The faithful man may be the man that you don't think is that hot.
Yeah.
You want the 10 with the six pack, and he out here, he got 10 girls. You gonna be his seventh baby mama because he look good.
Yeah. And that's why what you said.
And then you blame marriage.
And then blame marriage. And then marriage gets a horrible stigma, right? But what you said was so important. You have to get to know you. You cannot do any of these huge tasks. I don't believe you should do any of these tasks. Now, obviously, life situations, there are not always people who have the opportunity to plan or think. Sometimes it does, the control is taken away from them, unfortunately, right? Yeah. So please know we are not blanketing this stuff, and we're not saying like, you know, like, oh, we know that there are harsh things that happen to people where they don't even have the control and they have to do what they have to do, right? But outside of that, and I don't even, that's why this conversation is complex, because there's so many layers to it. So please know that we don't have the answers. We're just having the conversation. But to that, like, there are, I almost lost my point, just trying to make sure that I didn't offend anybody on one side, but
disclaimer.
Right? Because as a social worker, you do know that there are people who are sitting there like, but I didn't have a choice. You know what I mean? I didn't have this and I couldn't do. Listen, I completely understand that. Please don't ever think that there's not that understanding. I think that there is, the conversation to me is important, because I think as we move, we want to open people's minds possibly to all the different aspects of how we look at certain things, right? So you have to check yourself in order for you, before you start moving in any of these directions, whether it be your career, right? Because you need to know who you are before you go on a path and you start, starting a journey. If you don't know who you are, you're going to be all over the place. Every time the wind blows, you're going to blow with the wind. But when you know who you are, your feet are heavier, right? You have a stance. You're moving towards a direction. And what nobody say and what nobody do. That's why God didn't allow me to do this before the time. I thought time was beforehand. I would have been all over the place trying to please y'all. I don't really, you know what I mean? Like, I only want to please God now. That's a big difference. I know I would have been messed up out here in these streets trying to like, oh, I need this algorithm and this has to be this and this got to be that. I would have been blown in the wind, right? So same thing, career, when you decide that you want to be with a person, get that special person and get married. And I think definitely when you have kids, I just think that I would love ideally to see kids grow up in a space that's more whole. Because I think if we are all in a space where we start learning more about ourselves, men and women, I think our relationship with men and women will be better, which will bridge the gap in, I think, marriages and how we decide, to have kids. I really, really do. I genuinely do, because there are men who are in situations, and even those who are in a 2-family household and trying, but they've never had a good role model. They've never had a good role model about even how to be a good, quote unquote, to how to be a man. A lot of people are grown boys, and I wish I had a male on this show right now to so they can share their perspective. I don't like to speak so much sometimes about them until they are present, because everybody got a feeling. But facts, I feel like a lot of them are grown boys that are trying. Some of them are not, but some of them are really trying, but they just doing what they were taught. Parents, please stop telling your kids, do what I say, not as I do. As children, they're going to do what they see, not as you say. That is just the reality. We have to stop that. You cannot keep posting your children. I mean, you can, because you can do what you want, but you keep posting your children and they cussing and you thinking it's cute, but all they're doing is watching you. They're saying these certain things that's only going to grow bigger into the same possible stereotype into, and that's not to say we don't, we have great qualities, right? Black people are amazing. All people, there's a lot of people have a lot of quality. It doesn't mean that because you came from a single family, you don't have great qualities, whatever. I'm just saying we know it is hard out there, and our kids are struggling, and I would love to build up strong families again. I think it's important. Even if you messed up and you want to build a strong co-parenting relationship, like, like something. We can't be mad forever at you. I don't know how you can be mad at your baby mother forever. I don't know it, because, and I'm not trying to, I just don't. This is why we got to heal. Like, that's a lot of anger to carry around. That's a lot. I don't know. So I don't know, which I
don't want no parts of the baby mama, baby daddy. I don't.
Me neither. I actually dated a guy with a kid before.
How was that?
In the beginning, it was very stressful. I was hella into.
Don't sound like the Bible. In the beginning.
It was.
Go ahead, though. We listening, honey.
It was very stressful in the beginning because there was levels. First of all, I'm speaking on a relationship that I was in that was extremely tumultuous that I shouldn't have been in the first place. Let's just start with that, okay? So there were certain things, like he would be at her house. He didn't have like certain place to stay, so he would be at her house. It was all these like, I know you still talking to her, and he was trying to assure me that he wasn't. I would say that there was no huge, I never had to deal with her coming at me, except for one time I walked her child back. We all went out on a thing, like a little date, because in the beginning, the first maybe year of our relationship, I knew he had a child, but we didn't speak on it. We had to like, and then once I knew, we got real serious. Whew, one day I'm getting, my chest is beating fast. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is one of the most tumultuous, like traumatic type relationships I've been in, and I probably will talk about it one day. But when I walked her back and took her to the mom, she called him right then and was like, "Oh, so this is real? You really out here? you really out here?" We was like, what, 2.5? Like, we was already like in this thing. And that's like the only thing I feel like I had to deal with. But that's when I was lost. I was lost. So I was like, help, buying stuff. Like, I was doing the most. I was messed up. So it wasn't a lot on the aspect of somebody calling your phone and doing the most. It wasn't like that, I would say, but it had its moments for sure. She wasn't like OD wild, and she never brought the drama to me. She just brought it to him. I just heard about it, if that makes sense.
Yes. I don't think I could do it. I don't have the whatever it takes to even deal with it for a split second. I don't know.
Today, I'm
not my cup of tea.
I wonder, like, could I, like, I'm 33. I am open to my husband. My husband is coming. I just don't know what he looks like or what God has. I don't know, right? So what if he does have a kid? No, I rebuke that.
Is that on your list?
No,
I'm about to say, honey, like, is that on your list?
That was me almost settling. That really wasn't. It's nothing wrong with you men out there with kids, right? And as Kevin Samuels will say, well, you out here 33, and but no, I have faith. I'm not getting nobody with no kids.
I feel like the older we get, the harder it's gonna be, because people out here just popping them out. But at the end of the day, I think different people serve different purposes. Because my mother, she was a single mom when she met my dad, and they got married, and he raised my sister as his own. So it's necessary. It's out there. My dad loved my mother. He loved my sister. A lot of people don't know to this day that that's her stepfather. So I think at the end of the day, there are people out there that's going to be open to that. It's like, I had to have people open because I'm adopted. Like, I'm a whole I'm not even your partner's child. I'm a whole other person's child. So
Yeah.
there are people out there that are open to loving children of partners. But I think making sure the situation isn't toxic, and also just knowing what's for you. If that's not for you, don't claim it. Don't settle for it. You got to know yourself.
That's good, Ange.
But I also have to question, why would it be an issue if that person did have a child?
I honestly was thinking that like I didn't say anything because I was trying to word it, I guess. And as you were speaking your part, and then Ange went and said what she said, especially us being like the woman we are and so helpful and kind and thoughtful and never knowing like what our position here is, and it can be for just one person, even if that person is someone else's child. Like you just don't want to stifle that. So like even though like you might have this list, like pray over it and say, God, is that in your will? Like does that match what you talk about, Lord? Because I don't want to shortchange not only myself, your glory, that person's maybe deliverance. So it's not that like it's not for you, but you also just don't want to stifle yourself where it's just like, well, I tried to get you married, shorty, but
yeah, facts. No, yeah, because
Yeah.
literally when you were talking, I was like, all right, I have dealt with it before, and I know the type of woman that I am. And let's say that the baby mother is not even in a picture. Let's say something happened. You know what I'm saying? And then even if the baby mother was in a picture, what is the real gripe about it?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes we look at it in a lens of just drama based on what we've seen, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you will be put in that position. Because I know when God gives me something, it's going to be good. Anything he gives me is going to be good. Okay, only good is attached to, like, so I have to really strongly believe that. So like, if in the event, I don't want to block. I want to block that because I'm not gonna hold y'all. There was this guy in my church.
No, tell us.
There was this guy at the church that I had went to, and he was looking, but he had a kid, and I was like, oh, I'm not looking no more.
Zaddy.
For a quick second, I was like, I'm not looking no more. And then I was like, you don't want to have a, you're right. Like, I don't, what would be the gripe? If I know it is like, I don't want no drama, but you're already putting that there when that doesn't necessarily have to be the situation.
Energy out there.
It boils down to preference for me. If that's your preference, that's okay. Just don't be married to your preference. Be open-minded and have an open heart, and know that every situation is going to be unique. Now, if there's clearly drama there, it's clearly like not, he's spending the night over at his baby mama's house, don't play yourself.
Because I played myself back then, y'all.
We all play ourselves sometimes. It's okay. Just don't keep doing it.
No. I've moved on out.
Hand, honey. Do not do it again. Good.
Oh man. So
wow.
Is there any advice we have for, I mean, this whole show was definitely some, we definitely gave some advice, but is there any advice if Sweetie came to you and was like, I'm 28, I'm getting older, I want a baby. I don't got a man yet, but I want a baby. Because I also feel like with that mindset, without the partner, you have tunnel vision. So when you get into a relationship, you already have an expectation. Like, there are certain things that we want within a relationship, but there are certain times that we think things are supposed to go with someone a certain way, and we have to kill that. Like, that has to die, because when you get with the person that's meant for you, to my knowledge and what I'm hearing, it gets real. There's certain things that in regards to like your ego, the different things you thought, because it's something better than that, if that makes sense, in growing. But I do think it's dangerous when you go and you like, because I'm telling you, I've been in a situation where, may he rest in peace, I was in a relationship and I was like, he tried to talk to me first, and I was like, no, I know you're not good for me, like, we're not doing this. And then I felt like, you know what, let's try it anyway. Like, let's do this. Like, you've been around for mad yet. Like, let's do this. and we got together, and there were instances in which I thought I was ready for a baby, for sure, because I thought like this is the trajectory that I'm supposed to go, because society puts on you, you 28, you should definitely have a kid, you should definitely be married, you should definitely be in your career, and there is no structure. That's not how it goes. You can't have billions of people who are look absolutely different, think absolutely different for the most part, right? Have different ways of approaching things, but then say, however, all of you are supposed to be on the same timetable, and at 25 and 28 and 26, you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z. Right. But somehow we still move in this thought process, regardless of how many times we see it flash our screen that no, you live your life, and it's still in us. Erickson talks about it, I think, in the stages of like when I did the school for social work, it was all this understanding of it in a scientific whatever way, but I'm not gonna be able to recite it to y'all. That's not that social. I'm not gonna lie.
I just really think it really goes back to self, and I was trying to look for, I guess, something similar to what you're trying to reference with the Erickson, is these blocks that I'm gonna find it and find the reference for you so you can use it. But like your sense of safety in your environment, like, are you safe in that relationship? That's a good start. Do you feel valued and respected? And this is all relationships, like your businesses, when you're at work. Also your social connections, like, do you feel like you can contribute? Do you feel like you can listen and be heard? And the other part is, are you able to like do things for yourself and others and be able to learn from it, and also control your behavior? It's just like, is these underlying and like foundation, like we can't have a shaky foundation. So you up and wanting to have a baby, and then you get mad because she crying at 2 a.m, but yet you by yourself. Like, you have to think of that now the safety for the kid too. Now, are you going through PTSD? Like, you need support in some way, form, or fashion. It's just really getting down to your core of who. Are you strong enough? Are you really at a level of being some type of ready? Like, if I'm saying in the situation of like just wanting to go out there and have your own kid by yourself, nobody else, boom, boom, boom. That is the structure I'm talking about. So, because I see it as a teacher, it's just very frustrating. Like, I see these kids come in and I'm like, well, if you're tired, you need to take a nap. Well, if you didn't eat last night, I'm gonna get you in a snack. Like, it's just so many things that are missing. And I can't even get to teaching before I have to like get to these little building blocks. But do you feel like in the classroom, okay, you need to sit over here next to me or sit next to this person? There's just so many things. And you carry that, and then you want to just pop out and shout and be like, oh yeah, we're about to do this thing. No, we're not about to do nothing, honey. Get you together.
You know what someone told me? She used to be like a big sister when I was in grad school. She told me, she said, I don't care who you're with, when you decide to have a child, you need to plan for it as though that's just your child. She said it's kind of like throwing a big birthday party, and the clown is supposed to be there as the, star of the show, or, just as a supporting like role, whatever. And she said, you have to plan as though the clown is never going to show up. And because she said she knew a woman who planned with her man for twins. Like, they planned it, they went to the doctor together, they did it, and he still left. She went through, so she was like, you always, when you decide, you have to make sure that that at any moment it can just be you. Yeah. And I was like, that is the saddest thing. But it was so true, because no matter, at that time, I'm a big believer sometimes that like I hear the factual things of the world, but I know my faith, I'll be like, that's not going to pertain to me. Right. You know what I mean? So, and I have to keep that faith for the things that I've just always been like that. There's things that I've said at a young age that I can attest today that I know that I'm where I'm at because I professed it so strongly when I was young, not even really knowing. Just out of faith, like, no, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen to me. That's not gonna be me. That's not gonna be me. And though there was opportunities in which it could have been me, it wasn't. But I would say that I do understand exactly what she was saying, because in so many instances, that's exactly how it showed up. She would talk to me about how the person would be climbing the fire escape to try to be in her face, but still wasn't willing to do what needed to be done for her child. So, and be consistent. So yeah,
it's a gamble either way. It's always a gamble. So it's like, at the end of the day, you just gotta do what's best for you. If you want to bring a life to this world, do right by that life. Don't count on, because you could be married and be happy in your marriage, and just because someone's a good husband doesn't make him a good father.
Very true.
So
yeah,
very true. Of course, I'm always gonna say, you know, there's a level in which I do believe in like a kingdom marriage, a kingdom upbringing. I do believe, I just have faith in it. I'm not saying it's perfect, right? Because nothing is perfect. None of us are perfect.
So progress.
But when you have two people who are aiming towards that, I do think that, you know, stuff can happen. Because even sometimes within kingdom marriages, sometimes they do get so busy with other aspects, especially with serving God, that sometimes, unfortunately, the children don't get all of their attention. I feel like I have seen that as well. But it's a lot of work. I always say that, this is my personal opinion, it is easy to sin. We're all natural, sinful, so it's easy to live a life in the flesh and do everything you want and have all the desires that you want. That's easy. Like, if I got to succumb to my flesh, I would be on the show. I would have smoked a spliff. I would have had a nice, you know what I mean? Like, I would have been good. Like that, I would have just succumbed to my desires. It is harder to walk. And that's just my truth, because you have to you have to build consistency. And in the beginning, sometimes consistency can be hard until it becomes a lifestyle.
You gotta put in that effort.
Yeah. And you have to put in the effort. And sometimes some of us are still in that space where every single day we're, you know, we see the fruits, but we got to keep going. We got to keep going. It's not easy. It is. I don't think it's like easy, but it's rewarding. It's really, really, really rewarding. So I have faith in the marriage that is the right person for you, not the person that you have conjured up in your mind to be for you, because, you know, you are married to the six pack and the nice calves, and he treated you nice in the beginning, but then now that you guys are married, he can't even keep it up, or, you know, different. And same thing for the women. There are women out there who they pretend to have it together, and they don't. There's still a lot of levels of insecurity, still a lot of levels of I don't know what, toxic, you know, just growing pains. I feel like we all are going through growing pains of learning ourselves, but I do believe that on that side, I would love to see that flourish more in our communities. Men knowing who they are, having
and I think it just goes back. So I think it just goes back to therapy, like really working on yourself, like be yourself, be with God, be with God first. If that is who you believe in, like work on that, and have people around you who are like us, like constantly pulling that out of you, and go back to yourself, because you can't pour it. And you were saying that on your other podcast, like how you pouring into somebody? You don't have nothing in there. What are you talking about? Let me charge my phone from your phone. You can't do it. Nothing in there. You just can't. Like, we really have to go back to making sure you feel safe and secure in who you are. You feel respected and valued. And the way you feel respected and valued is because you have those boundaries. And if that person can't rock out with your boundaries, then it's the next person. It ain't that person. Like, we really have to focus on this here little vessel, this little temple right here, work it out, fix out the little blocks, get you some cement to seal up your cracks and your holes or redo the whole thing. And then go forth, whether it be that you decide to just have a baby with by yourself, by yourself, however you figure that out, or with someone. But like Ann said, it's like you do right by that child, but it really goes back to therapy, as she said too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that people need to understand it's not a timeline on it too. This is a constant
That's
thing.
good.
You put in effort, and just like I mentioned, it is effort to kind of keep this walk with God. It is an effort. This is, to me, it's double fold. It's an effort to continue to make sure that I am good. Right. So don't go to therapy and be like, no, I'm good. I got this, dog. Like, I'm straight. I'm straight, kid. Like, I know what I need to do. I'm ready. Because when you think you know it, you don't. Because every time you think you accomplish something, my father said this, there's something else that comes that you got to conquer. So get on this journey, understanding this is a lifelong journey. Self-love, my self-worth, I talked about, this is a lifelong journey, but you got to continue to put the effort because you'll always keep evolving. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And in that evolution, you'll start to meet and make sound decisions, meet people and make sound decisions. And then you'll be able to, I think, to give your child the best of yourself because you put in the effort. It's a mirror thing, right? They get to see because like I just said, they're going to do what you do, not what you say. So they get to see you as an example, and you put in that effort to consistently work on yourself. They'll be able to say, no, Miss Kennedy, I did that wrong. They're not frustrated they did it wrong because they have patience with themselves. They have grace with themselves. Like this is a journey that you're going through. So no, Sweetie's not wrong for wanting a baby, right? I just wanted to have the conversation because I feel like so many people are in this space where it's like, I want one without the other. And I just want to figure out like, what is going on. I do want kingdom stuff, right? But that's just not exactly where we are right now. But I feel like we've dropped a lot of gems for people to say like, whatever you decide to pick up, the most thing is important is take care of you before you decide. Check your motives. Why are you doing this? If you feel in love, don't get that baby. Go get yourself. Go get yourself. You got to hug and pick up yourself before you know what I'm saying? Don't count out the fact that you can have a beautiful wife or a beautiful husband or a kingdom if that's what you desire. Put that same effort that you put into your dreams and goals that you're going to put in to that marriage, right? Don't judge, right? We all here for each other. There's so many circumstances that can unfold in a scenario like that. And it's not on, like, I only mentioned Saweetie, but Damani was saying the same thing. He said he's seen too much, and we know his parents are his father's Tion, his mother, we don't know her, but it's not Tiny, but he said he's seen too much. What he's seen has put him in a position where marriage is not that important to me. Now, how he may have been raised, right? And this goes into thing like Tion may be a good father, but maybe the husband aspect is just a different, and I don't know, I'm just basing off of what Damani kind of mentioned, because marriage was not appeasing to him. He was like, it's just too much. It's just different. Like, you don't know, whatever. But all things are attainable with faith and effort and healing yourself first, for sure. Right.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good topic.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think ideally you want to come and you want to be like, this is the tools to get you into right? This is what you would need, but it's not that simple. We don't know the barriers in which people have to push past to get to the space of healing yourself. Like I said, for me, it was my faith, for sure. I don't know what other traumas other people have been through, but I think the root of what we're saying, that you have to figure you out first. If your motive is if you want that kid just because you want to be loved, or you feel like you're getting too old, that's an issue. Because usually you don't know too many people who say, I just, unless they are like in the nesting, like established, not too many people, like it is a lot of work. Let's get a mother up. It is a lot of work. And then once you have a kid, you are always going to worry. Which is interesting because they say like worry is a sin, but there's a level of
Concern.
can't you don't take the breaths you take are different, I think, for sure. And any parent I spoke to, the breaths you take are different when your child is not around you, still in front of you, you don't have eyes on them. It is different. So that's a different world to step into. I'll tell you that much. I say I want to be married for at least a good year or two before. And I know I'm 33, but that's what I would like, because I want to enjoy my husband before the rascals come.
That's okay. You got to be true to what you want. At the end of the day, everybody has to be true to themselves. Maybe Sweetie doesn't desire marriage, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Everybody's not going to get married. Everybody doesn't want to be married. Everybody doesn't aspire to be married. So we got to be true to ourselves, make sure we're doing things for the right reasons, and
that's
healing ourselves. Healing is a lifelong journey, like you said. Children are gonna need to heal regardless, whether they grew up in a 2-parent household, single parent household, toxic or not. We're all gonna need healing and therapy and figuring out what went wrong and our trauma. So at the end of the day, we can't live in fear. We can't let other people's standards or expectations dictate our lives. We have to live according to what we feel is best for us, and also making sure at the same time we're checking in with ourselves and making sure that we're mentally sound and doing the right thing by ourselves first.
Amen. Well, Angela said it. She said what she said. She said what she said. She said what she said. The only thing I want to ask you guys is there any music that you guys are listening to right now that is like popping or like on repeat?
I've been on a deep Anita Baker kick lately.
Ooh, which album?
Her Essentials, the Sweet Love and Caught Up in the Rapture. It's been on repeat for like the past month, and I be trying to sing it in my bathroom. And I don't know, it made me feel something, you know. It's like, ooh, like I wanted to post in my story one day, and I'm like, has anyone ever felt this way about someone? Like, I know I have, but it's like that's a feel, like that's a feeling. Her music makes you feel things, so that's what I've been on.
She's a whole environment, honey. Okay, she's just doing all like all the way. No, I feel you with Anita.
And this is honestly, how you know. Sorry, Joe. This is how you know our singer-songwriter knows her music. She went back to, you know, the
she dug in there deep.
Anita Baker is definitely a gem. But go ahead, Joe. What you been listening
all the way? Actually, after watching the King Richard movie, Beyonce did a song for them, and it's called Be Alive. And honestly, it kind of speaks to just like family and being around, like even like the family you make with your friends or your natural family that you were, you know, designed for. And it really speaks to me just in my season right now with my family, and even talking to you guys and other friends I have around me, and everyone's journey and how it's like really connecting. It's just amazing. So it really speaks to me in this moment.
For me, I have been listening to, like, the last song I was just listening to is Free Mind by Tim's. And I'm always late to the party. So like the song that she has with what's the artist called? Is it WizKid?
Essence?
Yes. That is my song. Like,
that's a vibe. I love that song.
I am so late to the party, but I am just on this wave, and I can't stop like playing that one and Free Mind as well. And then there's a few gospel songs too that's been on my playlist. Did anybody listen to Summer Walker's album?
I did not. I keep hearing about it.
I've been in and I've listened to a few. I'm hard with new music. I like to like jam out and sing along, so it takes me a while to come around to new music. It didn't hit the way CPR did for me. Like that first single, it just was different. She had a few songs that are really catchy, but I don't know, it didn't feel the same. But music takes a while to grow on me, so I'm not gonna counter out just yet.
Yeah, I would say that I was nervous because her last albums, whether it was the last CPR, Clear, she does an EP called Clear, which was absolutely amazing. I went through a season where it was just summer. Like Spotify told me, everybody told me it was just every Summer Walker song I knew. I was like in a trance. It got kind of scary after a while. And I'm like, for real, like I literally was on listening to her music. So when I jumped into this album, I was like, I'm gonna be careful because you're not about to have me tripped up. And but it was good. I was able to listen to it through and through. There was a few, I agree, it was a few songs that were catchy, but nothing that pulled me in like her old music. Nothing that, like, I love an album where someone just like pulls you in and demands your attention. When you can demand my attention like that, whether it's the like the sound, the production, everything, you got me hooked. But I don't think this one completely did it. I'm pretty sure you can play it and you'll bop or something, but it wasn't like the rest of them. I think the anticipation got everybody like really, really hyped.
Yeah.
I want to listen to Adele, but it's taking me some time.
Same.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, it's just like it's like I'm 2 songs in and I'm like, okay.
I've only heard her first single, and I only heard that partially because of the TikTok stuff. But I'm weird with stuff like movies and new music because I'm like, people hype stuff up and then I'm like, you know. So I'm like, I'll hear it by accident.
They set your expectation high and then they just pop your bubble.
Everybody, people are such fans of things. They be like, oh, this is amazing, it's the best thing ever. And then I listen to it, I'm like, I don't know about that. It didn't hit me like that, so I don't know.
Sidebar, I did see King Richard. It's on HBO Max.
Yes.
Not a plug.
I watched it too.
Yes. I would say this. I was inspired. He said something like it because when he's telling his daughters, did y'all write in your journals? And I was like, oh, y'all know I'm a journal head. Yeah. And I literally paused it and was like, let me just write my plan for tomorrow real quick. I want to do X, Y, and Z. And then I played it. The only thing, I feel like it was a really good movie. The only thing is that I really felt like I could have kept going. I wanted to see Serena.
Oh, when it ended, I was like, wait, no, is there part 2? What's happening?
Yeah, like I was like, what about Serena? Like, I want to know more about. I know this was the beginning and everything, but I want to know Serena's story. I want to know because I didn't know that Venus came out first.
Yeah, same.
And to think that her father really was like, no, Venus opens the door, and she will be the first. But you would be the champion, like you would be one of the best of all time. I think that's like.
I have a question because it's interesting because Joe said this at dinner the other night and she was like, oh, he had a plan and he stuck to his plan. And I was telling my sister his crazy plan that he refused to deter from worked. He made his daughters superstar athletes. But at the end of the day, you just said something earlier, Key, about not wanting to dangle something in front of your kids and try to map out their lives for them. So what do you feel about that?
I don't know. I think it would have to be like, was this plan ordained? Because I think that's a difference.
I mean, when you write things down, they become longevity. Like, Pastor Michael Todd said that, like, just like the Bible, like it becomes longevity, it becomes real, it becomes mortal. Basically, it gives life to what is to come. And honestly, it also says train up a child in the way they should go. So if you see, like, it doesn't matter. Like, each of us have our own personality, have our own quirks and how we do things because we were literally trained in the way that we should go. So people think it's only holy or biblical. No, it's just like, well, if you see that child doing X, Y, and Z, either be good, bad, or indifferent, that's literally for the most part the way they were trained. And honestly, after a while, it seemed as though the girls enjoyed it, at the same time. So it was that's a tricky balance to it. And at the end of the day, honestly, it's not like he was trying to hurt them. Shoot.
And I think also there was a level of trust that they had for their father too. It didn't appear that this plan was about ego. Like I dated a guy who was like, I need my kids to be basketball players because their dream was to be a basketball player and it didn't go right. So he wanted to train them up to be a basketball player. I don't know if he saw a talent. I don't know if this is a vision that he said, like, this makes sense. Like, I want to put them in the best situation possible. That makes sense. I don't know. I don't know if I think obviously I want to plan for my child, right? Me doing what I'm doing and consistency is a plan for my child, right? I want to make sure that they have means to whatever they want to be. But I don't know. I think, is that the same with the Jackson 5?
It's difficult.
Extreme plan for them too. And they're both a Jehovah's Witness too. That's interesting.
That is interesting. It's difficult because at the end of the day, he had that plan before they were born. So I think it was mostly motivated by money. And off the record, there's like an article going around about one of his older daughters saying that he left a family behind. I don't want to.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to perpetuate because I don't know what the facts are. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like he had his own motives and he did it for his own reasons. And it's like, but are they better for it? They're multi-million-dollar athletes. They were successful, the best at their career. But I would have to have a conversation. I would want to talk to them. Like, were you happy? Yeah. Are you happy? Do you feel like?
Yeah, like what is success to them? Is that something like, is there, because we know what happened to Michael. We don't know all, but we know some.
Like, do they feel like they have lived a life that's fulfilling to them? Do they have the riches and the fame, but was that what they would have wanted? You know, so it's hard. It's hard to quantify that.
Right. His motive was also respect. Like he really grew up in a situation, you know, living in the South and dealing with racism, KKK. And it was a level of respect that he also, that was in the background of why he also went forward with doing what he did. And it's funny that you mentioned even the other family, because I think my boyfriend and I was talking about that earlier. And it's crazy because he was way older when he had Serena and Venus. And that goes to show you sometimes, like, life, like that's why you can't put a time on anything. Sometimes life smacks you with like a dream or idea or a passion or even resources, and it catapults you into another space. And so sometimes when people be like, oh, I went to school with this person in high school, and then you meet them again like 20, 30 years later, they're a total different person because life changes you. And so you can't hold that person in that same space that you knew that person. And so I think that's what's happening with, you know, whatever's going on behind the scene with the authority and the family. But at the end of the day, like, once again, like you said, when you bring this being into this earth, it is not for you to hold on to it. And the same good thing goes for you in direction towards your parents. Like, yes, they got that title, but that's their being. Like, you got to let them, like.
But did he do that? Did he let them? No.
You know what, Angela? I'm really sitting here because I'm like, this is a really good point. Like, there was complete and utter plan, and it seemed like he didn't have a plan for the other kids. I don't know what they are, but I do think it really does also come down to also how we view success, right? This plan, because did he look at his other daughters and say, they're not making me enough money? You know what I mean? And then say, this plan has to be,
those were his stepdaughters.
Those three, yeah.
Those three are his stepdaughters?
Yeah, those were the wives' daughters before he got there. He had children prior to her.
Yeah, he had 5 kids.
So he came and had those 2 girls with her, and he took them up and trained them. So I'm like, it was an inspirational movie, but was this man toxic?
Oh.
Are we going to hold him accountable for creating broken families and then going on creating new children? Like, at the end of the day, yes, they're successful, but was what he did okay?
Yeah, I don't listen.
This will be a whole.
Now I'm also thinking. Like, go ahead, Joe.
This is what I'm saying. Like, people have different dynamics to them, and when life literally changes, and sometimes that's why you should slow down and get to know yourself before you have a family, because then all of a sudden you're 40 and realize this is probably what you should have focused on. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we everywhere, and that he might not have had a plan, but because he also now had a plan, that changed his whole trajectory. Like, it's a very great question. And I just feel as though, like, even those 3 not being his, it seems as though he still sold into them. Like, they became nurses and whatever else, or doctors, I believe. That's a great question, because at the end of the day, though, if you have such a plan, especially living in the neighborhoods that obviously they look like they to be living in some of the neighborhood I came from, South Jamaica, Queens, like, shoot, give me a plan when I'm 8 and get me the heck out of here. You know, I mean, even though you don't think about it like that, but in retrospect, would you rather have been just,
Mm-hmm.
there?
And
No.
I think there's a difference, right? Too, in like, I think there's a difference in like, of course, I'm not gonna breed on my dreams onto my child, right? However, I guess a plan in the sense of making sure that they have like, all right, you want to do ballet, we're going to teach you these different languages, we're going to make sure you have a good education, we're going to make sure these are the options that you have. We have you can run this business that the company, that your mom has, you can run this business that's going on, or you can start in this entrepreneur, because a lot of times kids do kind of grow up within that thing, especially when they're not pressured to do so. They'll kind of come up. But I never want my kids to feel pressured to have to live up to something. I want them to really be able to find their gifts. I think it's important for them to see what their gifts are. But I don't know. He had a concrete plan for them. And I'm thinking Jackson 5, and I'm also thinking Selena.
And that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, it doesn't seem like so they had a choice. But it's a very gray kind of situation, because it's like, where would I be if I had someone pushing me to do X, Y, Z, and this is going to be your life? And it's like, sometimes I'm like, I'm almost 30. Someone give me a plan, help me. Like, but are these people happy? You see the life Michael Jackson lives. Michael Jackson was a very troubled person, very troubled person. It's
Many of the young stars,
the greatest performer to ever live thus far.
Period.
And he was troubled. He gave us something, but what was his life like? How did he feel when he went to sleep at night at the end of the day? And I'm really curious to know if Serena and Venus Williams are truly happy, if they feel fulfilled, like,
Yeah, because even when I think about Selena, we know, though I watched that series supposedly that the family put together, and you can tell that there was a lot of sometimes her just kind of sacrificing the things that she wanted, and she felt conflicted because she had to do everything for everybody else in the family. And then I'm also thinking, because I know in like a lot of families, like I can speak on the Black family because I'm close to it, right? I just so happen to be Black, but I know that like this idea, like when you get 18, you got to get up out of here.
Mm-hmm.
You got to find yourself. I 100% feel that that's wrong.
Right.
I don't know where that came from. I think it's 100% wrong, because children are not even adults at 18, barely 19. So barely 20.
I feel like I'm barely an adult.
Yeah. So I really do wonder, because then I think about Beyonce, right? To my knowledge, it was Beyonce's dream to be a singer, and her parents nurtured it.
I think it goes back to our original point. Like, what makes someone a good parent? What makes them? It's not black or white.
Yeah.
Life is just complicated. It's very hard. Life is complex, and it's like, at the end of the day, you got to make choices and stand by your choices and live with the consequences of those choices.
For sure, because
I think we just love to.
Go ahead, Joe.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, no, I was just saying, like, I really think just as humans, we're always like from one end to another. It's just like, I do want to plan, but if I got a plan, you done messed up my life because I didn't get to plan my own life. But then it's like, God, Lord Jesus, please give me a plan. And he say, I know how the plans are happy. You be asking him, you don't hear nothing. It's just like, come on, y'all, we gotta pick a side. It's tricky.
Yeah. And I was going to touch on that. I was going to say, you are grateful. It's like you're in a position where you have the money and the resources, right? So you give thanks for that and be like, I can't even be mad. And I think this is the thread that I don't care if you have a lot of money or not. When you realize that a parent can only have done with the best the best that they could have done. I think everybody goes through a phase where they feel like they have to forgive their parents.
Yes.
Regardless if you felt like they were the perfect whatever. I genuinely feel this way. Everybody goes through a phase where they feel like they have to forgive their parents because we all interpret and go through things differently. You can have 5 kids in one house and everybody had a different experience.
Yeah.
And you always be like, this happened to me and I was scarred. But they did what they had to do, and I love my family because they put me in this position and they blessed me. You feel me? If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have, you know what I mean? So I'm thankful for them. But there's trauma. So I don't know. This is an interesting thing. Do you? I guess as A said, right? Like as Angela said, it is a gamble because you can make a whole entire plan and say exactly what you want your kids to be, because there are principles in this world. There are principles to make things happen, whether it's what it's supposed, I don't, if I want to take it from a spiritual aspect, I don't know, but there are principles in this world that can make things happen. When you put effort into something, you have a good heart, you do certain things, you sow into other people's lives, you reap benefits. So you have a plan, you work towards it can happen, especially if you believe it hard enough. It's going to happen. You write it down, you do all the jam, and that's what kept him going. That's what kept him going, to make sure that there was something for his family. The mystery of it all, right?
Yeah, I'm not leaning either way. It's just something to think about. That's why I'm saying at the end of the day, we gotta stand by our choices and live our lives for us, because at the end of the day, it's like Michael Jackson probably wasn't happy, but would he have given up being the greatest entertainer alive? Life is hard. True that. But it's hard. It is.
And I think, again, it really does go back to, it's connecting with when you talk about choices. I always ask this question: what does success mean to you? Right. And when I interview guests, I always ask, like, what does success mean to you? And how do you want to be remembered? Because all those, I feel like, are connected to you understanding why you're doing what you're doing. Right. And then I think there's a clearer understanding.
And I struggle with that, and I'm trying not to turn this into like a 4-hour podcast, but I struggle because I suffer from depression and anxiety, and that's been like almost a lifelong battle of mine. And some days I do have big dreams and aspirations. I want to make my music. I want to create award-winning films and shows. But at the end of the day, some days just being at peace and being happy is my goal. And I'm like, could I just pick up and move to an island and just, like, to me, success will be having peace. And I'm like, some days I'm like, do I just follow that peace and seek peace and not worry about how much money I have or how many people know who I am and know my name? I struggle with that on almost a daily basis. It's like, I don't care to be famous. I don't care, but obviously to do the things that I am passionate about at a high level, you have to be known. You have to have an audience. You have to have a following. But some days it's like, I being happy, being okay is a blessing. Being mentally sound is success for someone who's dealt with darkness and depression for most of their life. So I'm trying to still figure out what success looks like to me. Is it living a life of peace and not worrying about material things and money and fame, or is it following those dreams and becoming the best at what I want to do?
This is like the perfect segue into something, because I do think that, and Kimberly Isis Thomas spoke about this too, like success for her, there's levels, there's things. She also takes success a day at a time, right? So achieving certain things that she set out to do within a day, but if you don't, also giving yourself grace and celebrating the small wins and things like that. So if peace is something that, in my opinion, that is success for you, when you go after that, I do think all things will come. And somebody wrote this, and I wrote somebody posted this, Afrohemian. I love her. She has a restaurant, and so she does like food stuff, right? But she also does amazing construction. Like, she should have an HTV like type series for sure. Y'all gotta follow her on Instagram. Actually, that's gonna be the business of the week. Afro-Bohemian. Let me make sure I get it right. And I'll definitely post it on the blog. So again, make sure if you're listening to this and you want to know who I'm talking about, because you really should. Her aesthetics and everything is amazing. Go to the blog so you can figure out exactly what I'm talking about. I believe it's Afro-Bohemian is her thing, but I'll post it in the blog. But anyway, she posted this today, and I'm just gonna read it. It's an affirmation that she says every day, right? And we all know about affirmations. You guys say it every day. You got to also believe it, whatever. But she said, what is for me will find me. What is mine will seek me. What I want, I will have. What is meant for me will be for me. I'm already thankful for what I will receive, and I'm at the right place at the right time, right? And I think that I feel like it is similar. Like even with this pod, I treat this as though I am on a national, like you can't tell me, especially the last interview that I did. There's only one question that I wish I would have asked that I didn't, but I killed that interview. Okay. I killed it. I am like a huge known like interview. You can't tell me otherwise. This is a national show that you know what I'm saying? That's just how I feel, because anything that I do, I but the reality is that if one person is listening, that's who it's for. So like if peace is your success, then you search after peace every day. And if peace is, I'm going to sing my songs today, I'm going to write today, I'm going to do this today, if that brings you peace, then that's what it is. And I think all the other stuff will come when it's supposed to come. I don't think you got to worry about like, not for nothing, Angela, like, I know we always say this, but you're really popping. So like all you got to focus on is the art, in my opinion, and yourself. Like focus on you and the art. Everything else will seek you. That's supposed to happen. You don't got to worry about, oh, is it out there to this person? Like you don't got to do that. You just got to do it, put it out, keep it pushing, because it gave you peace to do it. When you detach, I think, from all the rest of the stuff, you'll be fine, because people are going to seek after you. Trust me. Like, I know you don't like, I know you're going to be like, what? I promise you.
I received that. Thank you.
All you got to focus on is Angela, bringing yourself peace every day. Search for that peace every day. And that's your success every day. And if going into the studio, because I know music makes you happy. I know it brings you peace. I know writing does. It may get a little annoying and like, oh, God, I want to put this all together. But if you do 5 sentences on the screenplay, you know what I'm saying, and screenwriting, and you got a part of the idea out, you were successful for the day, because you went ahead and did something that brings you peace and happiness. The work that you do is something that fills you up. It's going to bring you, don't worry about all that other stuff. It'll come. I don't care how long, I know I'm supposed to do this. So if it's only one person that's listening on a regular basis, everything else that's supposed to come with this is going to come. I believe that with every bit of my being, but it brings me joy, y'all, to do this.
I was just talking to
do this, yo.
I was just talking to another friend of mine, and she started her business. She also is licensed as a social worker in Atlanta, I think Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And she was like, yeah, Joe, it really feels like I'm not even working, but I'm getting paid. I was like, yes, honey, it just sounds like the path in which many people that are close to me are on. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm on this right train, Lord Jesus. All right, I'm in the right train.
I'm not getting paid just yet, but it's coming.
We are magnets. It's
coming. Like I'm telling y'all, I feel it really strong. Like especially with the conversation I had today, all of it is coming, and it's coming right on time. I'm exactly where I need to be. 33, not married, and all. Watch.
Jesus here.
Hear this whole testimony.
Exactly.
I love this for you, and I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, boo.
Thank you. All right, so I just want to, we're going to go ahead and close this out, but I want everybody, if you guys just tell people what they can expect from y'all, what's going on. I kind of plugged that there's some things and some businesses that you guys kind of got bubbling. If you want to talk about it, you can. If you want them to figure out a place that they can find you or what's to come, please do that. This is your time. This is your spotlight.
Well, for me, honestly, being a Gemini, it is a lot to come. All I can keep doing, honestly, everyone, is writing the ideas out. And sometimes I used to get very overwhelmed, like, all right, God, I don't see anything happening. But it was just like downloading to me. Like sometimes a lot of these ideas I'm gonna have to even push off on other people. So it's coming to the point where it's not for me. And even I posted recently my part of my health journey where she's going to actually have me come out with the whole story. But even the things that are physically happening to my body is for someone else. So I'm literally in the space of getting cookie crumbs, or I would say puzzle pieces of everything, down to tutoring, financial planning for friends, my family, and myself over and over again, but we always get back on the right track. And also just being comfortable with talking about money, especially in our communities. But my focus right now is my health, and I just feel like it is snowballing into having time and space to work on the different missions or visions and grants and things of that nature that is going to compile into a multi-million business. Jesus. All right, we're gonna put it out there.
Amen.
Amen. That's it.
Yeah. Amen. If someone is looking,
Yeah.
they listen to this and they're like, you know what? Because I mentioned this in one of my, I think the second episode that I got financial help, and it was from Joe. So if someone is looking to kind of just maybe get started, and because I think you do a good job, is there any way they can reach you at the moment? Uh-oh. Joe froze.
She frozen.
Hello?
Sorry, it paused on me, honey.
Yeah, I was saying, is there, I was letting everybody know that you helped me out financially before, and if anyone wants to reach out to you to kind of get that help from you, how can they reach you?
Oh, Instagram is easier. So it's another cup of joe. I would have to give it to you to put it in your blog post because I don't spell it simply. A-N-O. After Ange gives us her spill, I'll have the whole thing for I really forgot even how to spell it.
Right, Angela, it's on you.
So I just did my first short film. We are in the process.
Woo, woo.
Thank you. I'm trying to revisit it, tweak it a little bit, hopefully get it to the big screen. But once I get these braces off, it's over. I'm coming for all your TV screens. I got some projects I'm currently working on. I'm looking to connect with other creatives, producers, writers, actors and actresses, especially New York City based people. So follow me on Instagram at Midnight Soul, MIDNITESOL. Don't say I didn't tell you, because there's some things that are going to be happening very soon, and I need a team and I need people to work with, and I'm going to be pulling mostly people. I'm trying to put New York City on the map. Obviously, it's already on the map, but the Bronx specifically, I'm trying to shine a light on the current culture of the Bronx and the creatives. I have so many friends and family members that are doing their thing right now, music wise, acting wise, producing. So yeah, connect to me on Instagram. Let's make some magic. Let's make some art, and let's do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in one of your films. I'm saying it. I've always wanted to act in a real influential role, so I can act.
Let's do it.
I
Listen,
can act. So
I'm serious. I'm more.
I'm
I want to utilize people that come from where I'm from. That I want it to be authentic. So the shows that I'm working on writing and things like that, it's going to be very New York based. It's going to be very dead ass. So I need it to be authentic. So I'm really looking to pull from people that I know in real life and that I know embody the culture of what I'm trying to portray.
Amen. I'm so excited. And again, I just realized that it's Midnight Soul. I never, ever read your Instagram like that. This is a dun moment for sure for me. I've never read it like that. Wow, you learn something new every day. I will have it on the blog as well.
What did you think it was?
I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to talk
No,
about
tell me.
it. I swear to you, I know I wasn't pronouncing it Midnight Soul. I tell you that.
She probably just say, "Yep, that's Ange."
The soul is a play on words. It's SOL as in sun in Spanish.
Yeah.
And midnight, it's like light and darkness.
I'm just letting you know that. And listen, I write stuff, but I'm not always I'm getting more confident in my writing and everything like that. And I always say like English was my favorite subject. I aced it. I will ace it all the time, but I still am not confident in all that. I swear to you, I didn't read it that way.
Tell me what you thought it was. Because there's probably people out there that read it the same way.
It wasn't Midnight Soul, I tell you that way. It was like it was something different. It just wasn't Midnight Soul. Wow.
I love it.
Yeah. Joe, drop your
So yes, it is another cup of Joe. So it's ANOTHACUPAJO.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely go to the blog for that.
So it's funny because I actually had another name.
Oh man. All right, I'm excited. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining me on this experience. I pray you were able to take something away from this. Please share with others who may need this or will simply enjoy it. Don't forget to go to my website. I keep saying it, kheartfelt.com, and read the blog that's attached to this. I will also have more information about our lovely, lovely guests. Tune in to the next episode. We will go back to regular scheduled programming. And remember, once a month, you're going to catch another episode of Group Chat Shenanigans. Okay. I'm not satisfied. I don't think I'm completely sold on the name. So if you have any ideas, drop it in the comments on the blog, and I may take your ideas into consideration. That's just honest truth, unless I come up with something else. But until the next experience, remember to live, learn, love, and lift each other up, for it's the only way to bring light in the midst of the darkness. So bye.